to the amendments contained therein. Thank you. So, Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Of course, we'll try to confine to specific amendments being brought to the legislation, but you'd concur with me that the Minister has opened the debate and has referred to deterrence, prevention, and issues which are not directly relevant to the amendments being brought before us. Let me make it quite clear that deterrence is not correlated directly to increase in fines. There are other issues that have to be flagged and flogged, and emphasis is one of the issues that has to be taken on board. I, like the Minister, has made it a point to talk to several persons, okay? And people are worried. Not that they will fall foul of the law, not that they are not law-abiding citizens, but everybody you meet will tell you that the fines are disproportionate, excessive. And you cannot, Mr. Speaker, stop people saying that the government has an agenda. The agenda is to collect money, to turn road traffic offenses into a money spinner. Now, the biggest omission in this bill, as I've stated, is emphasis on deterrence, on training, and road safety per se. I'll make comment of general nature in relation to road traffic amendment bill. You know the saying, Mr. Speaker, click, clunk, and drive safely. Safe trip home or to any destination is our prayer and ardent wish. Road kills. Of course, we all want to be safe rather than sorry. The Minister has spoken lengthily on drink and drive, which is indeed a serious offense. And it is worse, as he has stated, if there's level of drugs in the bloodstream. And we expect the Forensic Scientific Lab to deliver in relation to tests that have to be conducted. There are provisions in the legislation, Minister mentioned Clause 7, which would take care of this offense. But again, there is a call to convey the right signal. The issue is one, not only of drink and drive or consumption of drugs, but the issue is deeper. The problem is deeper. And the drug issue has to be addressed. Unfortunately, government is yet to address this issue. I'm not going to say that has failed abysmally, but this is an issue that has to be addressed forcefully. Of course, no one wants drugs to be in the blood level. There is no threshold for toleration of drugs. There's always a note of warning also when one is on medicated drugs. But the risks are sometimes self-made and self-inflicted. You can see people who are standing at the side of the road waiting to cross with their heads in their phones. For example, at the corner of an unlit road to the SBM Park in Forest Side, a big trailer of a juggernaut is parked on and off, and it is a recurrent feature. And we expect the road traffic management to act and to act forcefully and diligently. An accident-prone area has been created, sometimes and largely due to indifference and insensitivity to safety and security. Whoever does it cannot get away, I take it, I conquer. But at the same time, the fines cannot be disproportionate. Now, traffic management officers have to be diligent, and they have to be present, and they have to act forcefully, and they have to make sure that the right signals are sent to those who often break the law. How many of these at-risk areas are there? The sites where there is no safety camera are obviously the preferred choices. We're all for prescribed regulations. They should provide the avenue of redress. But again, I will come back that these fines cannot be excessive. Let me advise the minister to err on the side of caution on the cumulative road traffic offences, and I will elaborate later on. Mr. Speaker, polluters and offenders of road traffic must pay, but they cannot have stated be fleeced. A fine has to be reasonable. There cannot be quantum leap of fines. Offences relating to safety, silencers, insurance vignette have increased by 150%. And those who break speed limit will be severely fined. The minister has said, has given figures in relation to the number of motorized road users. And as he said, the number will continue to increase, and incidentally, there will be an increased number of persons who will break the law. But I will come back again to say that this is not the reason why government has to rip off taxpayers directly or indirectly. I know of people who have stated that, if with that substantial increase in fine, you might as well take my vehicle, because the fines are so excessive. I won't be able to pay. And this is the harsh reality, and this is the naked truth. It is not because government gives that government has to take. I grant you there's no free lunch, but government cannot always be government, and government cannot always decide. Because government has been made to retreat and surrender, the will of the people is a great force to be reckoned. Mr. Speaker, the minister has said it, and I concur, the fleets of motorized or non-motorized vehicles are growing. But the correlation of accident between increasing road network and vehicles is obvious. Since 2015, the regime has failed to face the problem fair and square, head-on, as we say. Has a reliable study based on empirical evidence been conducted to assess the causes of 140 fatal accidents in year 2023? The dangers always lurch with repairs of total loss of vehicle. Total loss should be total loss. There should be no compromise. But I grant you, drivers are keen on repair because of the constant increase in price of insurance and repair largely due to depreciation of the rupee. The metro, unfortunately, has compounded the problem of road safety and security in some areas. Saint-Jean Road has been narrowed with the right rail track of metro. And if there's an emergency call to be attended by ambulance or fire services, it spells a disaster. It is the outcome of poor infrastructural planning by the regime, which was fiercely condemned by Minister Ganoo and his colleague, the Minister of Environment, when they were on the opposition bench. Causes of accidents are multifactorial. I'm not going to go into into many of the causes, but let me say that road traffic signs, the keep left signals, especially at roundabout, are misleading. At the roundabout of Phoenix, if drivers cross over and caught, the offence will be compounded as cumulative road traffic offences. And if enforced, many drivers will lose their licenses. The offence should stand on its own. Mr. Speaker, in 2018, amendments to the Road Traffic Bill also made provision to increase cumulative road traffic offences from 11 to 24. And the Prime Minister realized the blunder and impressed upon the then Minister responsible for road safety to go back to the drawing board and keep the cumulative road traffic offences to 11 as was. Now the Minister is daring and keen to increase the cumulative offences to 32. This is provocative and unnecessary. Let me come to fitness centres. How reliable are fitness centres? I grant you there's no compromise on road safety, but the values and merits of road safety have to be constantly disseminated with reach out to all. Some experts have argued for training on defensive driving for drivers, and online training that delivers a certificate of a completion with checks for scrutiny. Mr. Daniel Raymond set up a training school for motorbike drivers, and after 6 months of hand-on training, it was agreed that they would take exams to be eligible to have a license. Unfortunately, the gentleman has gone and the school has fallen.
Make sure you're not going outside.
Just a few minutes ago, before the Honourable Leader of Opposition took the floor, indicated that we need to concentrate on the amendments being proposed in the bill. And I'm fairly certain that the Leader of the Opposition, I speak under your correction, Mr. Speaker, sir, has completely left the ambit of the amendments being proposed.
How is the Leader of the Opposition supposed to make his speech when the Minister has not yet submitted the amendments to the amendments that we are supposed to be talking about? How is that possible?
I will come to your point. First of all, let me address this point. Honourable Leader of the Opposition, your debate should concentrate on the first series of amendments. And, okay, let us break. I ask you first, I ask you whether you are willing to talk. You took your responsibility, you said, yes, let me break until the Minister circulates amendment. Because you misled the chamber when you said, yes, you are ready to talk. Expect me to tender apologies for what? Leader of the Opposition, I can take recordings and show you. I asked you whether you are willing to start your speech. You said yes. It is on that condition that I gave you the floor. Please continue. Continue, you're talking for nothing. Talk on the bill.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, now that the amendments have been circulated, of course, I feel comfortable. Now, when I look at the amendments in relation to the cumulative road traffic offences, I stated earlier that there were 32. Now I find out that there are 23. If you accumulate the first 12 plus the last 11, it stands, now there is good reasons to say that the amendments as circulated now in relation to fine, I can say now the fines have gone down, okay? That's all acceptable, it's more acceptable. Now, secondly, in relation to the immatriculation plate. Now, it's so easy to fiddle when you have a specific plate number. Let me give an example. If the plate number on my car is AD11, I can easily put an L and turn it into Adil. So, or else AG11, if I put a T above, okay, it can come it can bear the name of Ajit. Now, what I'm saying is that since it is so easy to fiddle, there is provision in the legislation for remedial action to be taken. But I will go further than that, because if the intention is to wage war on those acting illegally, and they can be involved in the drug trafficking or any other issue, I would impress upon the Minister to see to it that a tracking device be put to locate a vehicle. Now, you know, if we have to extend it to those who use motorbike, because very often you have drug traffickers, small drug peddlers, who use motorbike and bicycle to peddle the stuff. So the Minister, you know, has to inform the House later on when he makes his conclusion as to the necessity to have this tracking device, and I'm sure that he will take this on board. The other issue which is relevant, Mr. Speaker, is the fine. Now, the fine in relation to the to the fourth schedule. I'm going to speak on the regulation fourth schedule. Now, the hefty 25,000 rupees fine on failing to fix registration plate in provided space. Now, that was totally rejected, and the Minister has to agree that he had to bow to the pressure being borne upon him and upon government by members of the public. Otherwise, this would not have been reduced to the 5,000 rupees. Okay. So, to me, this looks like a big retreat, a big surrender, a U-turn, and he had to bow to the public opinion. Now, I can see there now, in relation to what I've said earlier, there are offences that stand on their own and are not related to cumulative road traffic offences. For example, I've stated earlier in relation to fiddling with the with plate number. Now that offence, as I can see, it stands at it has been dropped to no, it's now 3,000 rupees. Okay, it's an offence that stands on its own. So that's fair enough. I have no problem with this. But let me come to one issue which has been those officers, okay, those traffic, so I have in mind the traffic instructors, okay, who sat for an exam and they were awarded their certificate, but the traffic branch was yet to acknowledge that they've gone through the exams, that the exams were conducted by the traffic branch supervised by the MES. There are 45 persons who've been successful. Up to yesterday, they have not received, okay, the licenses to operate, permit to run their driving, their driving, what we call, you know, the driving instructor's license. Now they have the driving instructor license, they can operate. Now these delays were unnecessary. So that's why I appeal to the minister to see to it that, you know, things are expedited. There is now relatively broad consensus that government had no choice but to bow to pressure being borne by the public. The fines are more reasonable, if I can say so. So I take it for granted that the implementation will be done as expected. But one thing that I will remind the minister. Now, in 2019, almost on the threshold of general elections, two legislations were introduced. One which relates to the Road Traffic Amendment Act, though this amendment was brought in 2018, and then the funding of political parties. I don't know whether this has become a habit, and these two legislations come after the budget has been voted. So that's why you cannot stop people saying loud and clear that the purpose of this bill is to collect, time to reap off taxpayers. But as I say, you had to bow to pressure being borne upon you by members of the public. And I say, when it comes to the dicta of the public, government has no choice, irrespective of government is government so decides. But when it comes to the dicta of public, government has to bow to pressure, and this is what we've seen. We have to be grateful to those who voice out and speak their mind without fear or prejudice. Thank you very much.